So today's inflation news. I guess we've got the worst inflation in 41 years. So what did that do to the price of gold? Well, first of all, it made it go down, and then I guess it made it go up, and then it came back down, and then in the end, well, I guess it depends on when you're watching this. Okay, so July's inflation numbers are in, and they are hot. No real surprise there, but they're higher than expected. That seems to be the story lately. Maybe we need to set our expectations a little bit higher. I think investors were pricing in about 8.8%. We got 9.1%. And if you were expecting to see clear cause and effect reactions from the spot price of gold, well, it all depends on when you look, whether or not it's going to make sense, because we've already seen it go both directions today. At the time the figures were released, the price of gold immediately dropped. They also immediately bounced back. And that's maybe one more reason not to watch spot price too closely. Now, if we want the real story on what's actually affecting gold prices, and not just during that 10-minute flash crash that came right after the announcement, we need to look at more than just inflation. We need to look at interest rates. So what's happening to the response to inflation? Because as the interest rates go up and the return on things like treasury bonds also go up, there are just easier places to put your money than gold. Now, an I bond, a Series I bond, will pay 9.62% right now. And that's pretty good. These gold coins, they're not guaranteed to go up in value. They're not federally guaranteed. And I don't know if that's important to you or not, but if you want an inflation hedge, well, there you go. The I in I bonds stands for inflation. It's not something I get super excited about, but it's easy money. So getting back to gold, it's never going to give us a simple if this then that formula. There's no I in gold like there is in I bonds. It isn't driven exclusively by inflation or interest rates for that matter, but it is affected by both. And if you want an example of the lag that you can see between inflation and actual movement in gold, we can go back to 2008 during the financial crash when gold fell about 15%. It bottomed out somewhere in the low 700s, so even further, but then it ran up to $1,900 by 2011. And the 2008 crisis wasn't so much about inflation, it wasn't so much about interest rates, but if you were looking at it as a hedge to hedge against all these other things that were crashing, you weren't going to see an immediate response. What's going on right now is a lot different than what happened in 2008. I'm not saying that we're seeing it again. I'm just saying that you don't see gold price directly related to any one thing. You don't see it directly related to inflation. It's a little bit more complicated than that. There are multiple factors. Some of the factors I can't even completely wrap my head around. And sometimes I'm not even sure there is a direct cause and effect at all. I think some of it's driven by human emotion. But since I got into gold and silver around the time of the 2008 financial crisis, I've built some of my expectations for gold around that idea of a faster recovery than other assets. So I don't get stuck in the immediate trend line. I wasn't going to look at the initial reaction of gold to the inflation news this morning and think, okay, well, it's going to continue to go down. And then I wasn't going to look at the trend from the following 10 minutes and think, okay, it's only going to go up. Actually, gold is going to go up and it's going to go down. It does both. Now, if you look back at 2008, when gold did go down, it ended up a little bit like a spring being loaded. Now, I'm not holding my breath for a run like we saw from 2008 to 2011, but there's no reason to think that the cycle for gold is over. There are a lot of factors suggesting that we're just getting started. And I would almost say that if we were to see gold price moving in direct correlation with any other event, really, it would be a lot stranger than if it were to keep us guessing like it is right now. So at some point, we just have to let go a little bit, stop worrying about where the price is going day to day, or I don't know, maybe just consider getting out of the asset entirely, because about one comment in 100 here makes me wonder about the author. It makes me wonder why they're in gold at all. So I don't want to give too much attention to a wheel that squeaks so rarely, but the idea that gold is not a good hedge, that's been coming up in the comments, or that gold is about to head into deep correction territory, that comes up too. Honestly, if that's the way that I felt about this stuff, I'd probably just get out. And then I would get as much of my money into other assets like those Series I bonds that I was talking about earlier. You can put in like $10,000 per year per individual if that kind of thing gets you excited. Or if it just makes you a little less anxious about what's happening with spot price of gold, maybe that isn't a bad idea. But for most of us, a dip is just going to mean lower acquisition cost and that isn't a bad thing. Now, personally, I go even deeper than that. I think that we still have a big run ahead of us, not a moonshot. I just think we're going to see good, steady appreciation from something that I would actually be happy with just showing us good, steady gains. So let's call it good there. I'm actually working on another video, and I don't think the inflation news today was a big story for gold. I actually think that the rate hike later this month is going to have more of an effect. I guess we'll see soon. So let us know what you think. And if you got in on that flash crash this morning, I think that gold went down to 1710 for about 15 minutes. Let us know that too. There have to be a few of you lucky people out there who did. And if you want to venture a guess about where gold is going yet this year, drop that in the comments. And of course, while you're there, be sure to hit the like button if you found any of this interesting. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.